What is one thing that instantly makes you think this person has no manners? Do people do that? When I want guests to leave, I just say, well, it's late and I have to go to bed, so I'm sorry but I'm kicking you out. But I very rarely want guests to leave because I'm lonely and I'm almost always glad of the company. I hope I don't overstay my welcome, but, like, how am I supposed to know if you want me to leave? Parents who let their children run rampant anywhere. I've seen parents watch as their kid pops their fingers through every package of meat at the grocery store and do nothing. Parents who let their kids kick a stranger's shoe or other belongings. Letting the kids spit on windows and rub it with their hands. Letting them run around the store, playing with anything and everything and leaving a mess for others to clean, and the parents literally just ignore it. I never understood that. They really are your obligation, not the store associate who's unlucky enough to be working the shift you happen to stroll in during. Be a parent. Bad kids can turn into shitty people. When I was living with my parents, we had guests over with a kid around 4 years old. He kept on trying to touch my mom's display of porcelain miniatures. I had to physically bar him from it, by sitting in front of it while his parents egged him on and told him to put them in his pockets. They were very proud to mention that he destroyed his older sister's art projects and any poor guest's mobile phones. I started to feel bad for the kid after that. Friends of ours brought their 3-year-old over to our new apartment a few years back. I had just bought a brand new wood coffee table, which was unfinished. The wood wasn't glossed but just stained wood with no sealant. My husband is sort of crafty and enjoys projects like that, so he was planning on sealing it himself when he had the chance after setting everything up from the move. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner and drinks with my husband, and while I was doing that, our friends had given their kid a pack of magic markers and sat him down at our coffee table to color without asking. I come back out with drinks to find my table absolutely covered in doodles and multicolored marks all over. They weren't the washable kinds. Both our friends were sitting there with their kid just watching him draw all over my table, like as if nothing was weird or wrong about it. My husband had to sand the table down and refinish it, which I guess was fine because he likes woodworking anyway, but still. It's maybe petty, but it was such a weird display of bad parenting and I will literally never forgive them for it. They're not allowed over at my place anymore. I used to teach kids martial arts and we'd do talk of the week. And stuff like this was part of my discipline talk. Discipline is when your parents and other grown-ups make sure you know and follow the rules. Let's pretend, point at random kiddo, is 4 and is at the park. Kiddo has never been told about sharing, hitting and pushing are wrong or screaming is not appropriate. Kiddo sees another kid with a cool toy. Kiddo tries to take it. Other kid stops them. Kiddo screams. Other doesn't give up their toy. Kiddo hits them, pushes them, snatches the toy and plays with it. Would kiddo get in trouble? Yeah. He's bad, mean. But, is that fair? Did kiddo know these things were wrong? No, because no one loved kiddo enough to teach them the rules. So when your parents and teachers are saying don't do this and don't touch that, we aren't saying I'm big and mean and hate fun. We are saying I love you and want to keep you safe and happy. Edit, I'm a she. But thanks for the compliments and award. Some parents think they can just use store or restaurant employees as free babysitting. When I worked at McDonald's, we once had this 5 to 6-year-old running around the restaurant, outside of the playroom. Not an uncommon occurrence, unfortunately. It was really busy that day, so even though I couldn't tell who, I thought she belonged to someone. So we ignored it, until she tried to come in the kitchen. So I took her hand and asked her to show me where her parents were. She says mommy's at the mall. She left me here to play until she gets back. My manager said she was going to call the police and report child abandonment. My shift finished before I could see the resolution, though. Fuck people like this. Parent your own damn kids. One time I was dressed as a mascot and this toddler was giving me quite a beating. The dad told him to stop, he ignored him, and that was it. The dad made no further attempt or threat. Just gave up. Another time I was a clown and the parents stayed upstairs and left myself and my boss alone with 20 kids. We're entertainers, not babysitters. They tried to pants me. Sometimes people do that on accident though when they're just trying to relate. Personally, I'm terrible at keeping a conversation going and just get excited when I have something to share. I mean, there's a difference, and I also have an experience with topic and the person who no matter what you're talking about has done topic only better. I had a co-worker, 5 feet 6 inches 250 pounds, that legit tried to tell me that he'd run the Boston Marathon when I was talking about my aunt running in it. No, Ronnie, you haven't run the Boston Marathon. You're 22 and you get winded if you have to help stock shelves for a little bit instead of just sitting on your little stool at the cash register. I worked with a guy that was a one-upper, and he always had some kind of drama going on. I was bummed about not spending Easter with my dad. It would have been maybe the second one I missed ever in over 20 years. He looks at me and he says, "What if I told you I don't even have a dad to miss having Easter with?" I was like, "That's sad, man, I'm sorry. Doesn't change that I miss my dad." He was a pot stirrer, glad he didn't stick around. I work at a grocery store. And because of COVID we have arrows to point the direction you're supposed to go with your cart. Today an old couple crashed into someone else because they were going the wrong way. Today, my U-boat, a large cart for stocking shelves, was in the middle of the aisle, but parallel so people could easily go by, about 1 to 1.5 meter each side of my cart. The man and the couple started cussing at me after I politely asked them to follow the arrows once they leave the aisle. He went to grab something from the shelf that was not even close to my U-boat. The man angrily said, "Your cart's in the effing way. Effing stupid idiot." I said, "Please don't speak that way to me, sir," and he walked away mumbling stuff under his breath. Called my manager and had him stand up for me. The man talked with my manager and walked away seconds after because he was obviously in the wrong. Like him just doing my frickin' job, no need to be so violent rude. I'm 31 years old. I've never seen anyone be rude to people that work at the grocery store. Like I know it happens because I read it all the time on here. I just can't understand how you can be rude to someone doing a job that without them, you don't get to have accessible groceries in a uniform, clean aisle, on a uniform, clean shelf. I once had a woman yell at me because she read our buy one get one free sign as get one free and she wanted to know what she got for free. I told her what the sign said and she started yelling about how she read the sign properly. I had another woman throw a book at my head because I asked to see the signature on her card to make sure it matched the receipt. Another woman called me a fucking idiot because she asked to buy a stamp and I wasn't sure if she meant a postage stamp or a rubber stamp. There was the woman who berated one of 16-year-old employees. We were selling tickets to The Lion King, which was generally sold out at least a month in advance, usually around 3 months. She wanted front row dress circle seats for 10 for the following night for her birthday. My employee explained that there was nothing available and, even though we weren't supposed to, she showed her the screen to prove it. The woman started yelling, "Well, I don't care. I want those seats. Why can't I sit there? You can't even do a simple job properly," etc. I calmly stood up and said, "Excuse employee. You're right. You can sit there and I'll happily let you give us the money for those seats. However, when you get there I'm sure the people whose laps you'll be sitting on will be very upset. Please leave. We have a line." These are just a small number of stories I've got, not to mention the stories where I've butted in to shut someone down that has been abusing staff where I've been shopping. Compared to retail, hell is just a sauna. You're lovely for recognizing it's a thankless job. I have my fair share of awesome customer stories too. Tips in the 100s from one guy whenever he would win over 1,000 on a lottery ticket, at least once a month. People buying me scotch, flowers, stuffed toys, etc. to thank me for my help. The last long-term job I got, at least a dozen customers came in on my last day just to give me presents and ask me to keep in touch. This is why I stopped being friends with this girl. She kept interrupting me and never listened. Always talking about things she was thinking of, and if people ignored her she'd say it over and over again. Then she complained we never spoke to her. Well, you never listened anyways, you lil shit. I wish I could stop doing this. I have ADHD and makes my social skills a bit out of whack. I don't have a huge filter, so it's hard when I get excited / an idea pops into my head, and it takes a lot of focus and effort to listen without zoning out, even though I want to listen but my thoughts are so loud. Edit. Never thought I'd see the day where I get an award for talking too much. When you're having a nice chat with someone and they start saying things that don't seem to make sense to you, then you realize they just answered a call on their $% Bluetooth phone ear thingy and are not even talking to you anymore. So I have a roommate who I'm entirely convinced has absolutely no manners whatsoever. For context, I live in the barracks, so I have no choice but to live with this guy. I have 1.5 million stories about this guy, but I guess I'll start with the basics. Doesn't clean up after himself, and refuses to help clean, even if he's a guest in someone else's home. Chain smoke / vapes in people's cars, flick sash out the window, but everyone knows that literally will just kick it back into the Jeep. Tries to constantly teach people things, and will talk your ear off and basically just dominate the conversation. No listening or allowing for a different perspective. Motherfucker literally introduced himself to me as the smartest man in any room. He plays music and sings in the shower at 4, 5, 6 in the morning and will take 45+ minute showers, 20 minutes to sit on the toilet and 25 to have his concert. The last straw for me was when I came home on leave and saw his fleshlight sitting out in the common area table. We've stopped inviting him to places. He sits in his room alone playing Xbox all day because I'm not responsible for teaching a 21-year-old child basic manners. It's not happening. My roommate. 1. Doesn't clean up after himself in the kitchen. 2. His car hasn't been washed in a decade. 3. Plays music/video games so loud like no one else is home. 4. Doesn't know how to have an adult conversation at 33. 5. Took over pantry and refrigerator leaving no space for anyone else. 6. Slept in the guest room since his bed wasn't a bed and said his GF was a guest therefore okay. 7. Leaves lights on. 8. Cannot bring trash cans in when the first home. 9. Is the asshole that fails the shopping cart test. And that's just one person lol. People who talk down to employees in the service industry, for example those who work in retail or at low positions in an office. And those who ignore cleaning employees. It is free to say hello/good morning, but by ignoring them, you are belittling them. Who you meet on the way up, will remember how you treated them, on your way down, upside down face. Also loud phone conversations, especially private ones when amongst others. Also inappropriate PDA in public places like restaurants or cafes. I am not your audience, please stop humping each other's